You don't peak by running a bunch of volume all over the place and then try to sharpen up by running fast mile intervals right before your marathon. That doesn't make sense. You do whatever is specific to your race. So you run at race pace and lots of it. And then you're so flipping gosh dang fit that you can do monster workouts here. This is what will get you a breakthrough in your performance. Now this is really important. I want you to see that there is a continuum that's not based off of effort level or heart rate. It's a continuum that's based off of your muscle fiber type. So let's draw a nice line here. And this represents all of your muscle fibers from fast twitch muscle fibers or a fast pace. And we'll go over here and we'll call this slow twitch muscle fibers, or running at a slow, nice, easy pace. And right in the middle, no matter your race distance, somewhere in the middle, you're gonna have your race pace. I'm just gonna call this marathon pace. But if you're a 5K runner, this could be 5K pace or 10K pace or 1 mile pace. It's just race pace. Now, here's how you get better. And it's not through using junk miles versus not junk miles. It's about doing everything across the board. That pyramid that we just had up there, you want to train everything on the pyramid. But the problem is you want to train most specifically for the demands of your race day. So that's not everywhere on the pyramid. So here's where it gets good. If you're a marathoner, you want to train mostly at marathon pace, logically. This would make sense. So that would mean your training would exist here. You're gonna run about marathon pace, maybe a little bit faster, maybe a little bit slower. But the problem is you can only do so much volume here. Let's say you wanna run 80 miles a week. Are you gonna run 80 miles a week at marathon pace? You can only run some marathon pace. Now, if you start running at marathon pace early on in your training, when you're 4 months away from your marathon, the problem is you're not fit enough yet to do 16 miles or 20 miles at marathon pace. You can't do it. You're not fit enough. You need 3 months before you get there. So instead of training at like 5 miles at marathon pace and then 6 and then maybe 10 and then maybe 12 and trying to up it, if you do that, you're gonna burn out, because the only way for you to get better is to train more and more and more and more and more at the same pace. It's not a good idea. So we're gonna save this until the end of your training, when you are almost ready for your race, when you're about 6 weeks out from your race. We're gonna do a lot of training here. So what do we do before that? Well, we're gonna train a little bit faster than and a little bit slower than race pace. Why? Here's why. So if you were to be able to complete workouts that existed here, so watch this. Imagine how hard a 20-mile run at marathon pace is. It's pretty tough, right? But what would make it easier? What if you could run faster than marathon pace, but for less distance? So maybe 10 miles at 15 seconds faster than your marathon pace. If you could do that, and you could run slower than marathon pace, but for really long, so maybe a 20 or a 25 mile run, or 50 miles per week of your 80 miles per week are run here. If you could do lots of volume here and lots of volume here, don't you think that when it comes time to do that big run here, you're gonna be able to? I thought so. So we wanna do this as our final preparation, but leading into that, you wanna run here. But I'll tell you what, running 10 miles at 15 seconds faster than marathon pace is still pretty hard. Maybe you can't even do that yet. Aha. So we wanna spend a good amount of time training over here and over here. And what this means is that we want to spend some time in foundational training or base training. And base training does not, listen very carefully here, base training does not mean running easy all the time. That's just easy running all the time. So if you think that base training is running lots of volume very slow, you are wrong. You're gonna get good at running slow, and then you're gonna try to run fast on race day? I don't think so. So base training means, yes, running slow and lots of it, but very slow. Don't you dare start running medium hard and race pace. Don't do it. Run slow, but do lots and lots and lots of it. Why lots? Because you can run more without getting injured. When you run slower, you have less impact, which means less injury risk. You also spend more time training, which is one of the biggest indicators of your aerobic development, how much time you spend training. But base training should also include running over here, which is very fast. Maybe all out sprinting sometimes, maybe just shy of that and running what I call strides sometimes, and maybe running repetition training sometimes, which would be here. So you're doing a little bit of everything and lots of easy running. Now, when you do this a lot, you can increase your mileage. Maybe you're starting at 25 miles per week. Maybe you could run 50 miles per week if you ran most of it, if you ran 47 of them very slow and 3 of them very fast, broken into very small, tiny sections, like 100 meters at a time, very fast. Okay, then what happens? Now you switch when you're about 3 months out from your race. Now you run somewhere between very fast and marathon pace. This would be your 400s, your 800s, your faster tempo runs, your 20-minute, 30-minute, 40-minute tempo runs, things like that. And you maybe make your long run not quite as long. So maybe you did long runs that are 20, 25 miles, maybe 30 miles even out here. And as you get closer to your race, maybe you only run 16 to 18 miles, but they're run a little bit faster. Okay? And then when you're a month and a half out from your race, you're so flipping gosh dang fit that you can do monster workouts here. And my friends, this is what will get you a breakthrough in your performance. So there is no junk mile here. You should be running every pace from all out sprint to very easy, and you should be hitting all of them in your season. But the emphasis of when you run at each pace is what matters. Very early on in your season, you're running here and here. So let's call this phase 1 of training. You can also call it base training. You're gonna do that for a good long time. Maybe months, maybe years. You can spend a lot of time training here and you're gonna be pretty good. Then you're gonna go to phase 2 training. I call this support training. Call it whatever you like. You're gonna spend about 6 weeks here. Then you're gonna spend about 6 weeks, not more, maybe less if you're crunched for time. You're gonna do phase 3 training. So which one is most important? You might think that phase 3 training is most important because it's most specific to the demands of your race. And you'd sort of be right. But I'll tell you that if you're only used to running 20, 25, 30 miles per week and you want to run a marathon, this phase can only be so big because you can't do 3 big workouts in a week that total, plus easy running that totals 80 miles or 105 miles. You can't do that if you're only used to running 20 miles per week. So this phase seems like it matters the most, but in the long term for your training, the phase that matters the most for sure is phase 1. Now you can stay in phase 1 essentially forever. And if you stay in base training forever, what happens? Well, your injury risk is very low. You can increase your volume without getting injured. You're not gonna burn out because you're never going really hard. You're developing your ability to be explosively powerful. You're developing your ability to have a lot of aerobic development, a lot of aerobic enzymes. You're developing your efficiency by going very fast. You're developing your metabolic efficiency by going very long. And you can stay there for a very long time and you can just jump in on a race and probably do pretty dang well. And only when you really want to peak for a race, meaning that you have a big race coming up that really matters, like you're training for Boston Marathon and you've been training for 10 months and you really want to kill it on race day, then we peak you. This is the science of peaking. There is a peak to this. And you don't peak by running a bunch of volume all over the place and then try to sharpen up by running fast mile intervals right before your marathon. That doesn't make sense. That's not sharpening up. Sharpening up means sharpening this blade. And when it's time to sharpen up, you do whatever is specific to your race. So you run at race pace and lots of it, or maybe a little faster, maybe a little slower. That's what sharpening up means. That's what peaking means, right? Peaking is very similar to sharpening. It's the same kind of visual that we use. Oh my goodness, I have so many of you on here to thank for how well the Run Elite book is doing. Now, we just launched it 1 week ago, and already we are #1 on Amazon for running and jogging, and #1 in track and field as well. It's doing super well. We have 5-star reviews across the board, and they just keep coming in and keep coming in every day, and I see that there's more reviews popping up. And thank you so much if you're one of our readers who's got the book and left us an awesome review. But if you haven't yet, go ahead and pick up your copy, Run Elite. It's on Amazon right now, it's on Audible right now. Train and think like the greatest runners of all time. Now, we have the great marathoner Bill Rogers, who has endorsed the book as well. And you're gonna learn 3 things basically. You're gonna learn the elite mindset, and then you're gonna learn how to structure your training every step of the way, including some bonuses, including a pace calculator for all your training paces. And then you have special hacks that the US military, the NBA, and the NFL are using to increase endurance in as little as 6 days. So go ahead and pick up a copy of the book, and thank you so much for being a member of our group here and watching our videos. If it weren't for you guys, we wouldn't have even made this. So take care, and thank you for making it a success.